In 2024, Hawaii. In 2025, Slovenia. And then Lanzhou. Invited by Mark, a senior from the same research group, I'm heading to China's Lanzhou. When it comes to meeting and parting, timing is always at work. In life, I've learned that connections don't always go as planned or as hoped. But I believe every encounter happens for a reason. So, why did I meet Mark this summer? Over the course of 20 days, my journey gave me the answer. We met because there was a story I needed to hear. With 2 layovers, I'm traveling from Milan to Lanzhou. The first flight took me to Chengdu Tianfu Airport in China, a 10-hour, 40-minute journey. Long flights can be exhausting. Between what felt like endless in-flight meals, I eventually found myself landing in Chengdu in the early morning. Even for me, China feels like unfamiliar ground. The airport Wi-Fi isn't instantly accessible, and it's a place where you can't really communicate in English, but unlike in Europe, there are plenty of free conveniences, from luggage carts to drinking water. But then, I spot the soy milk I used to drink in Hong Kong, or catch the familiar scent of spices. In moments like these, China feels familiar to me as an Asian. Even though it's not easy to communicate with the airport staff in English, I experience kindness through a translator app and a smile. I could check in my luggage early, even before the counters officially opened. With my bags already checked, I could enjoy my 7-hour airport layover. A 7-hour airport layover can be boring, but it's still much better than sitting on a plane. At least I can roam and walk around this massive airport. And there's the fun of hunting for snacks while enjoying the suddenly lower prices. Now I board a flight to Lanzhou Zhongchuan International Airport, just 1 hour and 35 minutes in the air, and I won't have to get on another plane for a while. I finally made it to my final destination. I'm thankful for my body for carrying me through every trip. But I still have to travel a bit more to get to where Mark is. 1 more hour on the airport bus. Like any other city in China, this place is vast. That sheer scale is one of the first impressions you get anywhere in the country. I'm seeing Mark again, the same Mark I saw in Slovenia. Nothing made it feel more like I'd arrived in China than having tea as my welcome drink. We chatted nonstop on the way to Mark's place. A room was ready for me, and so was the beer I'd be drinking. Knowing a friend's taste is really the first step in friendship. Now that I'm in Lanzhou, it's time to start the Lanzhou experience. First things first, Lanzhou's famous beef noodles. The Lanzhou region has a strong Muslim influence, so instead of pork dishes, you'll find plenty of beef noodles and lamb-based meals. Naturally, there are many halal restaurants as well. I'm not usually a big fan of flour-based noodles, but this beef noodle soup was impossible to pass up. The flavor alone is worth it, but the value is even more surprising. Just 36 yuan, about $5 for dinner for 2. The real shock came at the market. Since it was summer, there was a wide variety of fresh fruit, all at unbelievably low prices. The point isn't just that prices are low. Lanzhou may not be an international city like Shanghai, but it's still the capital of Gansu province. Considering that, you realize how stable the cost of living is across much of China. 1 yuan is about 14 cents in US dollars. When you compare currency values, the affordability here feels even more striking. In some ways, it offered even better value for money than Vietnam, where prices are also low. But for a foreigner, living in China comes with many challenges. Politically, it's a closed country, and there are many limitations that keep it from becoming truly international. And that's why everyday life in China still feels unfamiliar to me, even as an Asian. Mark has a solid morning routine, and our daily rhythms matched well. I like to start the day with something fresh, so breakfast is a must for me. On weekday mornings, we just settle in and work at our own desks. China is such a vast country that its food culture varies greatly from region to region. That's why there are so many restaurants specializing in different provincial cuisines. This one, a place Mark frequents, serves dishes from Hunan province. After lunch, we came back and got back to work. Around 5, we headed out again. The day after I arrived, I was already synced with the sun with no jet lag at all, and I headed straight out for a hike to Lanshan Mountain.
Cheers! Cheers!
Where this kind of energy comes from is a mystery to me. Lanshan, the mountain that gave the city of Lanzhou its first character, Lan, is one of the city's landmarks. I heard the sunset view from the top is especially beautiful, so we started our hike in the late afternoon. It wasn't a very tall mountain, but the slope was fairly steep, with a path that wound up in tight stair-like steps. The constant stairs could feel tiring, but the traditional-style corridors lining the way made it fun to look around as we climbed. You can take a cable car up, but a mountain is best experienced on foot, so we walked. It's usually so dry here that there are plenty of dusty days, but that morning's rain left the air incredibly clean. It was the perfect day for a hike. We finally reached the top, and the whole city of Lanzhou spread out before us. In the distance, the sun was slowly setting. It was beautiful. I could also see the famous Yellow River, its name coming from the yellowish hue of its waters, and even the deep earthy color was visible from up here. We took a taxi down the mountain. On the way up, we climbed with the anticipation of reaching the top. On the way down, we thought about the reward we'd promised ourselves, and today it was lamb skewers. No wonder we were in a hurry. That hike led me to a new friend, Nina. Getting to know several Filipino friends and their culture up close was another highlight of this trip.
Don't laugh that way. Have cheers.
How to say cheers in Korean?
Jan. So we can do it Jan, okay? Jan.
My time in Lanzhou gave me the chance to focus on work and reset my health. It was a stretch of days filled with good food and steady routines. What made Mark and me become close? How do people grow closer to one another? I think it happens when their values align. To me, the courage to be honest is one of the greatest virtues a person can have. Someone who can talk about their life plainly and without exaggeration is, in truth, someone with a very strong inner core. I think inner strength comes less from age and more from how deeply you can reflect on yourself. That's why I see Mark, even though he's much younger than me, as an advisor with stories I can listen to and learn from.
Keep saying koi.
Living a life that's always on the move, the question I ask most is, what is most essential to human life? I've started to form a clearer answer. And to put it simply, it's the ability to exchange. Money, which lets me trade for the resources I need, and language, which lets me communicate with others as a social being. These two forms of exchange are the greatest skills for overcoming the limits of place. Instead of possessions that can never truly be owned forever, it's these two powerful abilities to exchange that let me live my life wherever I choose, without being bound to one place. The limits a place can impose are overcome through human ability. Civilization is something that's constantly being built, even within an individual's life, and that we call life itself. I've mentioned before that China, even for someone like me who was born and raised in Asia, has its own unfamiliar barriers. Mark is someone who has slowly broken down those barriers and built his own foundation here.
Mark, they have. Like 10? Maybe we can use it for Friday.
Okay.
During my stay in Lanzhou, we cooked, shared meals, and talked about our life experiences, how to overcome the challenges we face, what they really mean, and ultimately, what comes out of the hard times we go through. The way Mark talks is calm as he retraces his past. Then he adds something almost magical, that when you're in the middle of a hard moment, you can't know its meaning, and that's why you can't truly understand or explain it. Mark said that only after time has passed can everything be explained, that the meaning of hard times becomes clear enough to put into words later on. It struck me, such powerful words that kept resonating in my mind. When we're inside a situation, we can only react to it passively. This is hard, I'm stressed. Why is this happening to me? We rarely see beyond the struggle in that moment. Just as a place can impose its own fundamental limits on life, each person is born with unique challenges, and more are added as life goes on. Life itself is the ongoing process of facing problems, solving them, and overcoming them. We can look back on the questions life has already brought us and find the meaning they left behind. The answers might not be clear in the midst of hardship, but Mark's words that everything becomes explainable as life goes on were truly powerful. Because it's something I've clearly experienced in my own life as well. It's the morning of the fourth day. After a quick breakfast, Mark headed to the gym while I stayed home to work. We planned to meet again in front of the restaurant just in time for lunch. Repeating the same things, going back to favorite restaurant. Maybe the strength to live comes from these everyday routines. Hunan cuisine is one of those foods that hardly ever divides opinions among Asians. Ingredients like rice, chili, and garlic are always beloved staples on an Asian table. While staying in Lanzhou, Mark asked me for a favor. During that time, a professor I know from Hong Kong was visiting for a seminar lecture. Mark was in charge of organizing the seminar. My task was to prepare one Korean-style dinner party at home for the professor. Arriving there, spending days shopping for groceries was all part of preparing for that dinner party. Cooking is actually one of my favorite hobbies, and though it might sound funny, it's also a form of meditation for me. Whenever I hit a block while writing, I often find that cooking helps me work through it. Now that Mark's place has a proper kitchen and utensils, I can really enjoy cooking to my heart's content. Lanzhou is quite far from Korea, so finding some of the seasonings needed for Korean cooking was a bit challenging. But with similar ingredients, I was able to recreate a close enough flavor. I prepared the necessary seasonings little by little, and for things like kimchi that need time to ferment, I made them in advance. In Hong Kong, I went through a similar adjustment period with local ingredients. I even made Korean-style kimchi using choy sum, a vegetable from the Guangdong region. It's the perfect kimchi for summer weather.
They have a kind of performance.
Interesting.
Before my culinary journey officially began as a nomadic chef temporarily settled in Lanzhou, I warmed up by making 3 types of kimchi: choy sum kimchi, fresh napa cabbage kimchi, and green onion kimchi. On the day I made kimchi, I also prepared boiled pork, which is a perfect complement. I cooked the pork until it was tender and delicious.
Of course, I'm a Korean.
Sharing food and life talks, as friends who live philosophy, our time together felt truly rich. My short-term stay in Lanzhou, China began just like this. As a digital nomad and philosopher, my story of living across places in China continues. I hope you'll keep joining me on this journey.